At Perbadanan Insurance Deposit Malaysia, or PIDM as we are commonly known, we have in place a comprehensive and robust corporate planning process right from inception. We also, from the beginning, focused on having strong, transparent reporting regime. Hence, we are among the very few public sector organizations that actually publishes its corporate plan document publicly at the start of each year. As for financial reporting, we also chose to adopt the full MFRS, despite our stature as the statutory body with our own legislation and not being bound by the provisions of the Companies Act. And as with most organizations, we use our corporate reporting and publications to try to report our performance story to our stakeholders, including the public at large. However, over those years, at the back of our mind, we knew that we were still struggling in telling our story, in getting our stakeholders to really understand what we do, why we do certain things, or even just explaining our existence as a public sector entity. We even came to realize that some stakeholders are getting the wrong understanding and different perception of our performance, particularly our financials. This is despite all the transparencies and the details of our activities through our corporate scorecard reporting and our financial reporting in the annual report. This is when we came to the realization that we need to better articulate the story of our organization, not only to tell the story of our performance, but also the underlying purpose, objectives, our business model, our risk, and matters material to us, and ultimately the intended outcome we aim to achieve. Not only that, we also realized the importance of able to link all these elements together to give a full picture of how we as an organization operate, create value, and as an endgame, gain trust of our stakeholders in what we do. This is particularly key for us as a regulatory body and a public sector organization. And this is when we saw integrated report providing us a great platform to achieve this, not only from reporting aspects, but also how we realign our thinking and ultimately how we approach things in our operations and work towards fulfilling our mandate. And as we go through our reporting process year on year, we keep this at the back of our mind as to what is the problem statement to address our stakeholders and how do we answer those through our reporting. The first key challenge was to get the mindset right, being clear in our mind, particularly at the leadership level, as to why we are embarking into IR and what ultimately we want to achieve. For IR to really be meaningful, it needs to be embedded into the way an organization operates and its strategic management process. Otherwise, it'll just be merely another report which may lack substance. Getting the substance of the report will require involvement of key functions throughout the organization, beyond the groups that were traditionally involved in annual corporate reporting process. It requires breaking of the silos between functions in order to obtain the required information and also effectively linking them to give the overall holistic view. Then there was also the question of what to measure. We had to shift our mindset from reporting on outputs, i.e. activities that we do and what we have carried out, to measuring and reporting outcomes, that is, what we have achieved against what we set out to achieve. It was not an easy shift, and the tendency is always still towards reporting outputs rather than outcomes, because it's easier to do so. But that's the value of IR, an outcome-based reporting. The next challenge was getting the data itself, especially for measuring outcomes. For us as a regulator within the financial sector and our specific role as the resolution authority of our member financial institutions, this was even more challenging as the measurement can be fairly subjective and even long tail in most instances. Hence, we need to collect the right data, connect and articulate them properly to make our stakeholders understand where we are and what we have achieved as at the reporting date. This brings me to the point on our role as accountants and where I believe the profession needs to head towards. With the IR framework, we as accountants would be in the best position to champion a more holistic and comprehensive reporting agenda, as we naturally would be the custodian of most of the key information and data for reporting, internally and externally. To do so, we need to shift our mindset of just merely being a data gatekeeper or a data guardian to being a data analyst and facilitator for corporate strategic management and facilitate to connect the dots. This may require us as a profession to look into new competencies, new skill sets than what we traditionally being trained for. And this is crucial for us to stay relevant as we head into the digital world, as our traditional data gatekeeping and reporting functions can be quite easily automated with technology moving forward. Something for us as accountants to ponder critically, now more than ever. Being a non-profit public sector regulatory organization, the extensive non-financial information reporting focus of IR is definitely in line with corporate reporting approach to our corporate activities and performance. But where we see IR has truly been beneficial for us is in providing that broader view of what would matter to our various stakeholders and how we can then align our reporting and sharing of data information to address their needs and problem statements. It is a broader view than just merely focusing on our internal perspective of what we think is important to report. This is key, as the value of an organization is not just internally driven by the capitals that it can control, particularly financial capital, but also other capitals which may primarily be influenced by external stakeholders such as social and relationship capital as well as natural capital. And linking the information on performance and outcomes achieved by the organization to the information needs of the stakeholder will really help in determining the value of the organization in a more holistic and structured manner, which accounts for intrinsic value information which would otherwise be very limited in the traditional corporate reporting. Hence why IR is also known as value reporting. As an organization, we had a fairly robust and corporate planning and strategic management process over the years. However, in the earlier years, we observed that the respective functions tend to set their objectives, targets and KPIs distinctively and to a great extent in silos. What IR has helped us to do is to provide us a structured framework to realign our mindset on planning, to make it more integrated and breaking the functional silos upfront, as it will flow through right into the end results of reporting. Knowing that the overall outcomes are connected between one activity to the other, it forces the respective functions to think more holistically at planning and execution, and taking into consideration impacts to various stakeholders both internally and externally. As a financial consumer protection agency and being part of the financial system safety net in our role as resolution authority, we operate within a wider regulatory ecosystem and have a very wide range of stakeholders. Our effectiveness affects the overall effectiveness of the financial safety net system, and therefore it is important for us to have this integrated thinking mindset. Firstly, IR has definitely made our annual report livelier and more interesting, with more diagrams, pictographs, and colors. What it has also helped us is to make our annual report more concise and focused, as we are reporting on what is material and that really matters to us and our stakeholders. But it doesn't end there. We see more opportunities to make it more interesting and meaningful, particularly through applications of technology and digitalization. We hope to make it more iterative and interactive. It is coming, but it is still a journey. Public interest entities or PIEs, particularly in the public sector, would naturally benefit most from IR, as their performance story is not merely from financial numbers. Non-financial performance, particularly social objectives, will be the focus areas for public sector entities, of which IR would be the most suited, as it gives a holistic and connected views of non-financial capitals and values, and able to facilitate better storytelling of the activities and outcome achieved. The challenge, of course, is how to start, where to get the data, and where to get the resources, including the budget, to put together the IR corporate reports. But the way I see it, public sector entities already have a lot of measures and data points to develop a meaningful corporate reports. The starting point is to realign the mindset. IR is a journey. It can start by considering and embedding the integrated thinking into the strategic management process and to start capturing reporting elements within the IR framework. Once that happens, the rest will come along and will follow suit. With that, I encourage all, including public sector entities, to embark into this IR journey, and wishing you all the best.